Hello everyone, my name is Ngọc Duy Nguyễn. Today I will present about the privacy and ethical concerns around managing personal data. So, in today's world, people generate data constantly. It can be from social media, online purchases, and from everyday digital services. So this data is called new oil. It means valuable resources for organization because this data can be used in AI training, marketing decisions, or analyzing customer behaviors. However, the use of personal data can raise privacy and ethical concerns in terms of misuse of data, data breaches, or limited individual control. So it's right. The question is that are we managing personal data in ways that people would consider fair, transparent, and respectful? So in this report, I try to answer this question. So in the first part, I would mention about privacy principles. So privacy principle can be used as a checklist when we design any database management system to ensure the privacy of data. So as most of frameworks, there are eight principles in total. So the first one is collection limitation. So collection limitation is mean that we only collect what we need and explain the reason why we must collect this data. The second one is data quality. So data quality is that we should keep the data accurate and ensure it's up to date. So if we ensure the data quality, we can ensure that there is no errors in the step of analyzing. The third one is purpose specification. So this principle means that we should stick to the stack purpose instead of reposing quietly, and we should identify the purpose before we perform the collection. The next one is use limitation. It means that we must limit the access and use to what is necessary only. We must not use the data beyond the purpose. The, the next one is security safeguards. So it means that we protect data against unauthorized access or loss. The openness. Openness means that we must be transparent about how data is handled. The individual participation principle ensure the role of individual in terms of manage their personal data. It means that it gives people meaningful control over their information. So the finally is accountability. So accountability means that someone must be accountable for the personal data. I means that our organization or individual have the responsible for managing personal data. So it is clear that privacy is very important when we design a database management system. However, privacy is not enough. It's how to go with ethical principles. So that's why in the next part of this presentation, I would present about some principle of ethics. So there are five ethical principles in total. The first one is consent. Consents mean that when we perform the data collection, we have to obtain the permission from individuals that we collect data from. The next one is fairness. Fairness is help us to avoid bias and discrimination when we collect the data. The third one is intention. So intention is that when the use of data for purpose that create value, not harm the society. So it also means that we should only analyze data for social benefits, not for individual benefits. The next one is integrity. Integrity means that we must ensure the information is reliable and we don't bend the data to fit the narrative. And the final is stewardship. So stewardship act like a responsible guardian. It will take what we own. Um, so these ethical principle is not just a checkbox. They shape the decision when the drag up appears. So it just offers that the ethical and privacy principle are clear and they're very easy to follow. However, there are lots of real-world example that violence these principle and it will result in serious consequences. So that's why in the next session of this presentation, I would show you two case study. So the first one is the Cambridge Analytica and Facebook case. So in this case, data of 87 million Facebook users were collected from Cambridge Analytica for creating political advertisement in the United States election. So this case mean the problem is that there is no clear consent between the organization and individuals, and it's also about the openness. It is poor, and the use of data is also beyond what individual expected. So the ethical issue is that it is unfair manipulation, it's lack of transparency, and unethical intentions. So in the results, it is lots of just global debates on the privacy and political influence. So to conclude, this case study is referred to the misuse of data. While in the first case study, it's referred to the misuse of data. So in the second case study of Optus data breach is related to the poor design of security system. So the case that in 2022, Optus experienced a serious data breach from hackers. Hackers store between 2.5 to 9.7 million customer data, including identification numbers like passport and license number, address, and date of birth. So in this case, the problem was clear is that the poor protection and stewardship, it means that the data wasn't kept safe enough because the security system is designed poorly. It also results in serious consequences, including public distrust, regulatory investigation, and customer harm. So from two case study, we have the question is that what should we do to prevent from these situations to happen again? So that's why in the next part of this presentation, I will talk about the beneficial practice for designing a high security database management system. So the first one is that data interruption. So data interruption is that we interrupt the data by default into the unreadable form. So it can ensure that when the laptop or the database system is stolen by hackers, for example, the data still remain into the unreadable form, and it cannot be decrypted without the keys. So the next one is access control mechanism. So this practice will it mean that we will give the specific permission to different individuals. So some individual can get a read-only permission and others can get a read-write-only permission. So it can make sure that different individual have different permission, and we can also review those rights often. The third one is data minimization. It means that we collect less, keep it for the short time, and de-identify when we can. So, for example, when we want to represent the a student's results, if it is possible, we should only present the student name and their mark. It should not include their address, date of birth, or anything else. And the final one is consent management platforms. So it can the simply choice make the consent permission become easy and keep a record of what people agree to. So each of these practice can lower the risk of violating the privacy and ethical principles. So it is important to put them together when we design a database management system. So I do believe that when we include all of them, it is possible to create a high security system. So in the conclusion, it is obvious that personal data is highly valuable resources for organization because it can very beneficial in terms of data-driven decision-making process. But it is clear that this information is very vulnerable because it is very easy to violate the principle of ethics and privacy. I saw it in 2 case studies of Cambridge Analytica and Optus. I also saw some privacy and ethical principles, and I do believe that these principles are the foundation of secure database management system. I means that when we design any database system, it is very important to make sure that we satisfy on principles. And 2 case study also highlights the serious risks and consequence when we violate the principles. And I also provide some technical solution when we design a database management system, such as data interruption, access control mechanism, data minimalization, and the consent platform. However, it also requires the balance between the business needs and ethical or legal compliance. So the final key takeaway is that protecting data, especially personal data, is not just a legal. I mean that it is not about privacy, but it's also required a ethical responsibility. Yes, so that's all for this presentation. So thank you for watching. If you have any question, please comment below and I will pleased to answer all of them. Thank you.